One of my bugbears is music fans of a certain age saying, oh, there's no good new music. I hear it a lot, and it's just not true. Now, I try to champion new bands on here where I can, but today I'm looking at 10 artists whose careers peaked sometime in the 20th century, yet they've all put out exceptional albums in the 2020s, proving there's life in the old dogs yet. So, let's dive in. Hey, I'm JSB, a fan of classic rock, prog, old school singer-songwriters, all of that kind of thing. And today I'm talking 10 albums from classic acts in those genres that aren't just pretty good for their age or not bad given that blah member isn't even in the band anymore. No, for me, these ones stack up to, and in some cases, even outshine some of the acknowledged classics from these catalogues. So let's get started in no particular order with a gentleman who I've actually interviewed on the channel and have done a review of this album because it's a 2025 release. Maybe he's borderline for including on here. In fact, just recently he's been nominated to the Songwriters Hall of Fame, but as a non-performing member. But he performs, he does. He makes albums, and they're great. The latest is this one, The First and Last Freedom from Martin Page. Now, that Songwriter Hall of Fame nomination is mainly to do with the hits he wrote for others in the 80s and 90s. But yeah, he put albums out. Well, in the 20th century, he put one album out, In the House of Stone and Light. And if you like that album, and you should, you'll like this one because it's almost a sequel. You've got the same ethos behind it. Almost all of the same musicians are involved, apart from the ones who are no longer with us. And Martin still sounds great in his mid-60s. He's still got the songwriting chops. It's ace. I won't go into too much detail because I already have, and I've got a lot more to get through. Now, next up, somebody who I would never have guessed would put out a brilliant album in the 2020s, especially because he died in 2011. Gerry Rafferty and his posthumous album Rest in Blue from 2021. This is lovingly put together by his daughter after his death. She took basically his old demos and stripped them right back to just his voice and either guitar or piano, and then built the tracks back up again using a lot of the musicians that he'd played with on his 70s and 80s albums. So Hugh Burns is here, Kenny Craddock, Mo Foster, you name it. Sadly, no saxophone on here, but that's the only thing that's missing. Again, a great bunch of songs, a few covers as well as his new originals, and it ends with a really decent version of Stuck in the Middle with You, just to bring everything full circle for his career, I guess you could say. Beautifully done, and yeah, Martha did a glorious job of making this a proper fitting tribute to her dad. Next up, I'm not actually talking about this album. This is the new one from the Doobie Brothers, Walk This Road, and it's okay. Unlike everything else that I'm talking about, this is a bit middling for me, but a few years earlier, they released an album called Liberté, which is the only one I'm talking about today that I don't have a physical copy of, hence I'm showing this instead, where they joined up with producer John Shanks. And unlike this album, which has Michael McDonald return to the fold for the first time in centuries, it's primarily a Pat Simmons and Tom Johnston-based release, and they really deliver. I mean, Pat's never stopped delivering. Every Doobies album for the past 40 years has had some really good songs from Pat, and not much else from anybody else, has been my view of things. But Liberté is different. It's a little bit mellower than your classic 70s Doobies, but the songwriting is there in a way that it hadn't been for a long time, and sadly isn't really again on this. But that's an outlier. We're mainly talking about albums that do stack up to the classics. And that brings me to one of my favorite 2020s albums from an old band, Kansas, The Absence of Presence, which both the title and the band name are on that cover, if you can spot them. Now, here's where we get to the fuzzy side of things, and no, Kerry Livgren is not involved with any of this material. Steve Walsh is not involved with this album. We've got new blood, but they're, working in the realm of Kansas music and making brilliant new music in that field. You've still got Rich Williams on guitars here and Phil Hart on drums. It's probably changed a bit since this came out. It is 5 years ago now, and they're getting older and less healthily. but this is, this is the second album that they put out after a long, long gap. First being the Prelude Implicit, which was really solid, but this is, to me, another big step up. And if it turns out to be the final Kansas album, they're going out on a high, but I really hope that they can squeeze one more out for us. Fingers crossed. Now, here's a band who are now pretty much done, or are they? And this decade alone, they've put out 3 albums that could qualify for this. Magnum. For my American friends, this is a band that you probably don't know because they never cracked America, even slightly. But that doesn't mean that they haven't got 23 great albums that you need to go and revisit. And these are 3 from the 2020s. If I had to pick a favorite, it's this one, The Monster Roars from 2022. The only downside about this album is the awful cover art. As you can see from the others, there's the Serpent Rings from 2020 and Here Comes the Rain from 2024. Generally, their album covers are spectacular. Not so on here, but the music still is. And I mean, you've got tracks like Remember and the title track, The Day After the Night Before, Come Holy Men. It's top quality, start to finish. Of course, Magnum led by the late, great Tony Clarkin on guitars, production, and songwriting. So he sadly left this earth shortly before this album came out at the start of 2024. But there's a new Magnum album coming. The details of which are scant at this point in time. Again, it sounds like it might be along the lines of the Gerry Rafferty, and that it's some demos that Tony recorded before he died that have been reworked. So keep an eye out for that, because again, Tony's daughter is kind of taking the reins now where he left off, and she's not going to put anything out that is substandard or will besmirch his name in the slightest. So if I had more news on that, I'd share it. Currently, I don't, but yeah. Magnum, fantastic hard rock melodic band. If you don't know them, this probably isn't the best place to start. Go slightly earlier to Lost on the Road to Eternity from 2018. That's, for me, probably their classic of the 21st century, but they're just so consistent that you can't really go wrong with anything. And here's another band that you can say the same thing about, Uriah Heep. This is their 5th album in a row, going back to 2008's Wake the Sleeper, which is first-rate Heep. If you haven't got over the fact that David Byron isn't in the band or indeed alive, you're really missing out. Bernie is a brilliant vocalist, and you've still got Mick Box, of course, the mainstay of the band for all these years, and Phil Landon on keys and a lot of the songwriting as well. Again, this is probably only my 4th favourite out of the most recent 5 album run from them, but it's damn great. This is 2023, and actually Pete Pardo at Sea of Tranquility made this his album of the year. I wouldn't go that far, but it is damn great. And look, they even like to teach the Americans how to spell. I'm always approving of that. So yes, folks, colour has a U in it. Yeah, it's just great. Is it Demons and Wizards? No. Is it as good as? Yeah, really is. Another band with an interesting twist of personnel is who are on a little run of great albums going back to 2017. In this case, it's Styx. And so they started in 2017 with The Mission. This is Crash of the Crown from 2021, and they followed that up with Circling from Above this year. Now, of those 3, they're all great, but this one, Crash of the Crown, is just perfect. I mean, this is seriously a top 3 Styx album, with whatever your favorites are from the 70s and this. If you haven't heard it, and yeah, Dennis isn't here. I mean, he's been putting out his own stuff in recent years as well. So I haven't checked those out because I'm Team Tommy, really. But just listen to them. You won't miss him. You won't even notice that he's not there. I promise you. All right, something completely different. And this is the first album by this band that I ever bought because I always liked them. But maybe a Greatest Hits will do me. Until this one came out in 2022. Tears for Fears, The Tipping Point. This isn't super catchy 80s-ish rock, or pop even, but all the elements are still there. There's a lot more depth to it as well. It's a very mature album, dealing with quite serious subjects. Primarily, it's written a lot about the death of Roland's wife, um, and him dealing with that. But it's relatable, and the songs are memorable. You really can't go wrong. Um, I'm not the only one to say that this is probably a stronger album, start to finish, than Songs from the Big Chair. Again, no lie. It doesn't have the decades of love that you've built up for it in your hearts, but on its own terms, absolutely top notch. And here's another band who has an interesting mix of personnel now. And this one is a long time coming, a 19-year gap between albums until in 2020 we got The Symbol Remains, Blue Oyster Cult. And here you do have Eric, you do have Buck, but you also got Richie Castellano, is that how you say it, as a key member of this particular lineup. He's new blood, but he's been touring with them for a long time. And the three of them are all contributing material, but he kind of steals the show, but not quite. He sings lead on 3 songs. He writes or co-writes a bunch of probably the best songs on the album, like The Alchemist, for example, which is, if you haven't heard The Alchemist and you're a BOC fan, drop everything, go listen to it, honestly. Again, it's not Secret Treaties, but cut for cut, it's at least as strong as Agents of Fortune. Not kidding. So if you like your BOC and you haven't heard this one, go nab it. Only thing to say about Blue Oyster Cult here is that they followed it up last year, I think, with a thing called Ghost Stories, which is not one that anybody really wants to listen to. It's not a proper album. Yeah, it's just a disaster. Again, kind of demos that have been resurrected, and the overall consensus was that it was a massive disappointment. But this isn't. So, Symbol Remains. Yeah. I'm only left with one. And who can it be? Oh, it's my favourite band. Now, you might say, well, of course you're going to include your favourite band in there because you just love every damn thing they do, don't you? Well, do I? I do love this, I will admit. It's An Hour Before It's Dark from Marillion. Again, a band American fans or American viewers might not know so well, but if you're a prog fan, then you probably do. They were the main successful band of the prog revival of the 80s. And if you want a band with a consistent lineup, no, Fish is not in the band, but otherwise, lineup is unchanged since, wait for it, 1989. So, yeah, they don't have anything to prove to anybody, but this is, for me, a massive return to form after previous album, which again comes in a lovely big box if you've got collector's editions, Fear or Fuck Everyone and Run. This actually didn't do all that much for me at all. And I was afraid that this was going to go the same way, but no. Really cohesive album. I mean, all albums you should really play from start to finish because that's how they're intended. But this one in particular, with the closing track Care, which is strong contender for the best song they've ever done, but it's stronger still if you leave it till the end of this because it all weaves in together. You get lines repeated, themes repeated, twisted around and given different meanings. All adds up to an emotional wallop. Yes, it does still, after 4 years of hearing it. How many years? 3 years of hearing it, in fact, tend to make me well up. But yeah, it's ace. As are all those albums that I mentioned, in my humble opinion. Now, I know that not every old band is keeping up the quality control, and I might in a future episode have to have a look at some of the duds that we've been forced to endure over the recent decades. But for now, 10 albums that prove the creative spark does endure with some of our old favourite bands, and you really, really, really should be listening to them, whether they've got all the same members as they had in 1977 or not. Okay? That's my little soapbox announcement for you today. But if you are one who does keep up with new music from your favourite old bands, chances are I've missed a favourite or two of yours from this list. So let me know whether you think Maiden or Yes or Tull or Deep Purple or whoever else you still believe is delivering the goods in the current decade, and drop those down in the comments below. And if you have missed all of these albums, My challenge to you is to just pick one, go and have a listen to it, maybe two, and come back and let me know what you think. I don't think you'll be disappointed, and if you are, well, sorry about that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed my little run through there, and that it has inspired you to listen to some new things from old people. And if you are new here, do click on that subscribe what's the thing and join me for more great music listening and discussion. Until then, that's merely thanks for watching and bye for now, but not, I hope, for long.
It's the end, but the moment has been prepared for.